Breaking news, pending home sales drop to a record low, even worse than during the great financial crisis. I've been sharing what's happening in the Florida housing markets in real time for years, so none of this is news to me. But what is surprising, and what I pray to God that anybody who reads this fully understands, is that they're talking about October. And if you thought October home sales were bad, wait until you see November, because they're worse. And it is only going to lead to Florida's unstoppable housing market crash. And while recently, just this week, since I got back from Brazil, I made 2 videos talking about exactly what's happening in November in many Florida cities. And I'll link them up above so you can check them out. But pending home sales, a measure of signed contracts on existing homes, dropped 1.5% in October from September. And while Florida's unstoppable housing market crash is going to happen one way or another, the one thing that I can absolutely stop is people relying on lagging news, old news. This is not actionable information. Because if you're looking to buy or sell a home right now, you don't care what happened in October. You need to know what's happening today, right now in today's market. And for anyone who is looking for granularity as it relates to what's happening in the housing markets within South Florida, for all property types, single family homes, condos, townhomes, villas, or co-ops, I've done the research, I've done the homework, and I've put the content on Patreon. And I've made it 100% free. So if that information is valuable to you, then please click the link below, join my Patreon, it's free, and you'll definitively know what's happening right now. But the article goes on to say that they hit the lowest level since the National Association of Realtors began tracking this metric in 2001. Meaning this drop is even worse than the readings during the great financial crisis over a decade ago. Sales were down 8.5% in October nationally. And if you've been watching any of my recent content, you know that 8.5% drop is cute compared to what's happening in some of the Florida housing markets that I cover. And to be clear, it's not every Florida housing market. Each market trades completely differently and has its own completely different intensity of supply and demand. But in most places, demand has fallen off a cliff. But the index that they use to measure these changes measures signed contracts. But according to them, which I know is not true, it is the most recent indicator of housing demand, because it reflects the buyers who were out shopping in October, which was when the popular 30-year fixed mortgage rate briefly shot above 8%. And since then, mortgage rates have dipped down a little bit, but not much. But for every point that mortgage interest rates decline, it unlocks 3 million new buyers who can qualify for loans and buy a home. The breaking news goes on to say that pending sales fell in all regions month to month except in the Northeast. They fell most steeply in the West, which is where homes are most expensive. And sales were down everywhere compared to a year ago. And then the article goes on to say that tight supply and still strong demand have kept pressure on home prices, which not only continue to hit new highs, but appear to be accelerating in their gains. And if you believe that's true, I'm here to tell you that it's not. Because in November, that is not what's happening in many markets within South Florida. And while I've covered some of them recently, the deep dives exist on Patreon. So please check it out, 100% free, no sales pressure, no hype. It's the raw truth that you must know if you're thinking about buying or selling. But the unstoppable crash is happening in real time right now. And the other breaking news, the other leading indicator that tells me that is true, is the fact that inflation rose 0.2% in October and 3.5% from a year ago. 3.5% additional inflation on top of all of the other additional inflation that we've seen over the last several years, which is squeezing the life out of the economy and most homeowners and most American citizens. But wait, there's more. Continuing unemployment claims surged to 1.93 million, an increase of 86,000, and the highest level since November 27th of 2021, which tells me volatility season is here, my friends, and you better be ready.